Hello, folks. Here playing Last Epoch, or Epoch, depending on how you want to say it. Figured I'd just take a little break and chat for a bit, voice some thoughts as I play. Um, I've been playing this game for, let's see, almost 4 years, maybe 4 years. I bought it back in 2019 when it was still in early alpha. And I've been playing on and off since then. I've got about 250 hours in it. Um, Playing, first off, my class this time is a mage. Decided I want to try something a little different because I generally play the mage sorcerer just because I like the mana, but never played the rune mage. So I've been playing with that a little bit, and it's actually quite powerful. And I hadn't really didn't really look into it much. But then I was not really a smart player for a long time. I've played Last Epoch much the same way as I would play any other action RPG, and it turns out you really can't think of it the same way you would an action RPG because in this case there are some functions in the game that work a lot differently than they do in other games. So things that I would normally avoid in other games, or I think work a certain way, so I process all of the bonuses in Last Epoch based on how the system works in other games, is has held me back on some things. I couldn't understand Ward, for instance. I'm not that smart, I suppose, but Ward was always confusing to me, and it was one of those things that was confusing enough that I just didn't do it. So we'll talk about that a little bit before I kick off the mission. Right now, I'm looking for. Let's go through my inventory first. Right now, this is my current build, and it's kind of a mess. I've gotten lucky with a couple of drops, but it's mostly a placeholder build. There's some things that I got that are really good. There's some things that I got that are not so good, and I want to replace. My main weapon is serviceable, but it's got stats that I don't use. I'm a lightning runemaster, so lightning and elemental stack well. I am also primarily trying to get disintegrate to work, and it works okay. I'll show you. But the disintegrate works, but it has the main problem of being a channeled skill and a damage over time skill. Now, I know that the skill does cause, if you make it freezing, it will chill. If you make it lightning, it will shock, and if you make it fire, it will ignite. So therefore, it's a damage over time. But you have to stack for it, and because of how disintegrate works, it's probably like Ward, and I'll figure out that when I stack damage over time, it's way better than what I currently use. But the way I'm currently using it, I kind of like. So I'll show you. But because it is damage over time in Last Epoch, it doesn't do critical strikes. So you're white damage only with your disintegrate, and because it's channeled, it doesn't it doesn't benefit from speed. So you can't stack cast speed as you could in other games where the cast speed increases the number of ticks on your channeled skills. In this case, you have a set number of ticks, and it's just a matter of figuring out how much damage you're going to put per tick. Now, granted, with I'm probably talking myself into trying damage over time build, but when you do a build like this, the damage over time stacks pretty quick. So if I were to redo this build, I mean, I might redo it at some point and see how the damage over time works. But right now, primarily going with just bigger numbers better. So I got a tier 5 lightning damage and tier 5 elemental damage stacking. So those are good. I like it. Um, but I need to get a high roll purple in either elemental or lightning. I don't. I think I'm writing off the chance of getting a double exalted right now. But for now, this is good. I'm looking for a replacement for that. The other thing that needs a replacement here is my mage plate, but it's actually pretty good. The only problem is that I built this a while ago, and it was really good when I built it. Reflected damage doesn't do me any good. It does so little damage based on, you'll see how much damage I do with Disintegrate. It does so little that it's not really saving me. It's not really making the time to kill any faster. But what this does have, and what I would boost if I could, but I can't because I have no forge potential, is I would boost the second stat there, the lightning penetration on lightning invocation, which is decent. That second one, though, is important. And this is where I learned to love the ward, is with that particular glyph or shard. It gives me 44 ward per second per Gone rune. And the Gone runes are the runes that a runemaster collects when they are casting electrical skills. So with a Disintegrate, you're casting, it counts as a new cast every tick. So I can bump up to 3 Gone runes instantaneously, pretty much. And when I get 3 runes instantaneously, I immediately get 132 ward per second just from this. And that's not even a very high level, and I think that's a tier 2. I actually got a higher tier on this. The good thing I just got is this helm. Even though the purple skill on here, I don't do static orb. I did it for a while, but I'm actually using if you look down here, my R skill. My R skill is the one that I'm using to test different skills to see which one actually works. Actually, this one looked like it was going to be a great replacement for, if you look at that Disintegrate damage per second, that's rather high. But I thought it was going to be a decent replacement for Disintegrate because this one is not channeled and this one is not damage over time. So I could do a critical and cast speed on this one, and it's bolts to pass through. So it essentially does all of the things that Disintegrate does, but it does it with critical bonuses and cast speed bonuses. So I thought maybe I could bump up the cast speed really high, bump up the critical really high, bump up the critical bonuses really high, and then just melt things. Problem being that that's 3 stats that I have to focus on for that one. And any piece of armor only has 2 offensive stats, except for when you start getting into the later crafting, which I haven't gotten into yet. But if you can get 3 offensive, then yeah, maybe you can get, in a very late game, you can make this just torch everything. But for right now, it's okay. I might go back to Static Orb, but you won't see me use it in this playthrough. Let's see, what else? I got Ward on Kill on this. Most of these things are not going to have many stats that I really like. They're going to have 1 that I like, and the rest of them are or possibly just there to bump up my defenses, my resistances to maximum. But in this case, the ward threshold is handy. It increases the amount that that is the minimum of the ward, if I understand it correctly. So Anyway, for a while there, when I started realizing ward was beneficial, I just grabbed everything that said ward on it. So maybe this is doing me some good. I don't know. But it's okay. It's not the greatest piece of armor. And I'd replace it, but I don't have anything right now that looks any better. This guy, I don't know. This is probably the ring that I'm going to replace most in the quickest, but right now it's doing most of my physical resistance. I can't take it off it without dropping below 75%, I don't think. I got my defenses pretty high. Most of them, I think, are well over the 75 cap, which means that they will resist penetration. But right now, they're still low enough that I probably need to find something with physical resistance on it before I replace this with something. I don't need strength, obviously. I have the worst luck when I do the remove, when I try to remove a bonus, because it always hits the one I least want to lose. So I would try to remove the strength, but I can't lose that physical resistance. So I scared. This guy, he's good for damage and good for void resistance. He's got 6 potential. I might bump fire up in case I ever run low on fire or I need to remove something with fire resistance on it. This guy's decent. He's solid. He does the spell damage and elemental damage, which is not as great as having specific lightning and then spell or elemental, but it's good and I can't really complain. And it's carrying the weight for poison and void resistance, so that's good. The helmet, did I already go over this? Yeah, I did. Static orb. It has the ward per second for Gone Rune, so it meshes with this one. So when I don't have any Gone Runes active right now, but when I do have Gone Runes, this will sit over here at about 1400 ward. But if you look at how the ward works, my ward generation is insanely fast. So right now, it's like a shield in any of the other games. Every other game seems to do the shield the same way. This one is a constant heal, essentially, because this ward affects everything. So if I am playing, something has to hit me harder and faster than I gain ward. And most of the base units, I can sit and just do inventory management while I'm surrounded by level 80 monsters, low-level monsters, and generally my ward will just stay the same. Blah, blah, lightning damage, major mana regeneration. Pretty much don't need cooldown with Disintegrate. Since it's constantly ticking, these boots kind of suck. They make me move fairly fast. Actually, this one's not too bad because it has the high ward threshold. Ward decay threshold, so. But enough of this. This is kind of boring. I'm not going to go too heavily into this. You can look at it if you're interested. Basically, I am focused on ward-related and mana-related nodes and health. With that, spell damage is a nice bonus. But everything is pretty boring. Nothing flashy. Mostly just damage and ward. Excuse me. Anyway, so let's go up here.
You have returned.
So my prophecies, I have a couple of prophecies for exalted staffs because I need exalted staffs. Not doing a dungeon right now, but I have actually these are all exalted staff prophecies, and I haven't unlocked Reign of Dragons timeline, so there's no. That's down the road. I didn't know what I was doing when I unlocked this. This one's doable. Just got to find a monolith with siege golems in it. And this one is doable. I'm not sure what the pound giant scorpion thing is, but I'm assuming it just means giant scorpions, and it's something they put in. They need to take out of the code, but maybe I just don't know what it is. Anyway, if I run into giant scorpions, hopefully that just means I gotta kill giant scorpions, because then I get 5 exalted staffs, and I'm looking for a staff that has lightning or elemental damage. And hopefully lightning, elemental, or spell damage, either both of the offensive affixes are what I want, or there's one empty, because I can craft it up to tier 5. Anyway, chances of that, I don't know. If you believe in probability, the chances of that must be pretty high, because I've been playing this character for 40 hours or so, 50 hours or so, and he hasn't gotten anything close. I haven't gotten any purple staffs with, or any exalted staffs with damage. And I'm a little short on favor, so I'm not going to go hunting around for new. So let's just go run a mission, and you can see how this guy runs. We're going to run. Let's see, what are we working on now? Let's try this. I'm still working on this. I'm fairly early on this. It's six levels above me, and my build isn't that great, so I may or may not do well with this. We shall see. Let's see. I mean, technically, I could pick a map with scorpions, but I'm not gonna bore you all with that. Let's just do this one. Enemies deal 20% increased damage, increased rarity, and I get affix shards. Oh, so I should say, before I go any further, no, that's not what I wanted. If I go to my, just so you understand what you're seeing, so I don't have to explain it very much, my current loot filter, I'm not going to change it right now. My current loot filter was for collecting items with cast speed and critical. So anything with lowercase red is going to have cast speed and critical affixes. Anything capitalized in red is going to have those affixes, plus it's going to be of a weapon type that I'm looking for, in this case wands or staffs. Purple, this is penetrating lightning invocations. This is the one that gives me the ward per second, and primarily this one is looking for shards so I can build a new chest piece, and then I hide white items. And if you're a collect everything person and you have OCD, I do apologize, because I'm going to be skipping a lot of gear. Anyway, let's just go get some shards. Or die, I don't know. So if you look down there at my ward, you'll see what I mean. It stays above 1,000 pretty much constantly. It takes either a whole lot of enemies or one big enemy to really challenge that. Mostly I'm just running around burning things down. And actually, the number ticks aren't too high with this, but where it gets most of its damage from is the fact that it passes through everything. So I get a large crowd, and I'm doing high amounts for each one. And plus, Disintegrate has has a escalation when you cast it. The longer you channel it, the higher the damage comes. It has three stages. So on a big enemy, when I'm constantly keeping Disintegrate on them, it will stack up rather high. There are ways I can make it ramp faster, but if I do find some fixes that will help increase the maximum level of Disintegrate, and I get a couple more points to spend, I'll definitely have it ramp up faster, but I was going more for total DPS. I haven't run the numbers yet, but I do believe that as it is, it's actually more mana efficient when it doesn't ramp, because I don't use as much... I don't do a lot of overkill. So I use... I occasionally use Freeze Wall, especially in the... See, that was a quick one. Especially in the missions where I have a lot of low-level enemies, I use the Frost Wall, the Ice Wall, a lot more often. Didn't get anything out of this one. I got a couple of blues that have spell damage and spell damage. So these are for affixes. I think I already have a lot of spell damage. No, I only have 4. So you all get shattered. Wouldn't it be funny? I mean, the staff, I always get that low-level green staff when I get two-handed staff, so... no, I do have this one already, though. I get a lot. I don't know what it is. Whether the game just hates me, but I get almost no drops, especially when it comes to purples and relics. Not relics, sorry. Uniques. When I get uniques, they're almost entirely for the Acolyte. It's all, well, yeah, it's all necrotic. I get a lot of necrotic and a lot of poison, but I don't get any lightning. I don't get any spell damage. So a lot of minion stuff. I mean, I feel embarrassed to show you how much crap I have, but when you're looking here, almost everything is... These are going to be sold. These are old. This new project page is... I don't know. This is where I dump things that the OCD in me doesn't want to delete. But for whatever reason, I couldn't shatter it at the time, so they just build up. Got a lot of idols I don't need. I got a lot of generic idols I don't need. I tend not to collect idols for other classes. And when I decide to finally wrap up with this sorcerer, if I decide, or not sorcerer, but I decide to take this rune mage and take him off the rotation and move on to another class, I generally just delete all of this stuff. Because if I haven't used it in my current build, and granted my current build is such a mess that I didn't even put something in this slot. So that's just, I'm not going to waste your time with that, but I'm missing something. Anyway, but there's just so much crap. So much. So many gloves. I get so many gloves. Excuse me. Just 8. So many gloves. 1 boot. Like, I don't need 2 of these, but I don't need 2 of these. Don't need 2 of these. But, that's for another day. And actually, I don't even know what they're doing in there. They're not even uniques. So, I know that there's probably going to be somebody who watches this and says, oh, look at that. He has 3 of these and I need them. Look, it's at 3 Acolyte staffs. Nice. This one right here is the one that I used to get all the time. I mean, if a two-handed staff, unique staff dropped, I would get this piece of crap. And I still hold on to it, even though I have nothing to do. I mean, it's good for minions, but I'm not doing a minion build. I got three of these some bitches now, and I'll delete them. I'll get rid of them at some point, but I'm not gonna do it now, just because if I get rid of two of them, I'll only have one, and that for somebody for somebody with my issues, that's enough. Anyway, that's all the things that I have going for me. I have so many. I should start doing this stuff. I hear that they're good. They weren't in it last time I played, so all these dungeons were added kind of after my last playthrough in beta. So I'll get to that at some point. And I got so many purple rings that have things I don't need, things that I don't think any character I kind of want to play. I mean, void damage is nice, but anything that a character that I want to play could use. Um, Minion health, that's good for an acolyte. I guess I'm gonna have to play an acolyte at some point. She'll certainly be stacked after level 54 because everything I have is for them. Anyway, let's go. I'm gonna run a couple more. Come along with me, shall you? Will you? How do you say that? Don't need bows. I also struggle with whether I want to do staffs or a catalyst and a wand. Problem is that you get a whole lot of damage bonus since I'm doing white damage skill with disintegrate. You get so much out of the base level of the just flat damage bonuses, and I don't know that there's a catalyst that has a high roll on or has any bonus to damage without it being an affix, and that wastes one of the spots. Now, granted, I probably waste 50% of the slots I have on my gear currently, so who am I to complain? But to make it work right now, my brain is just telling me I still need to do the staff. Anyway, let's do a couple more. One or two. Okay, so this is gonna possibly have some scorpions. Let's hope. Maybe you all will see me get what I need. You know, I could just go. That was a missed cast, obviously. That's not the direction I wanted to cast it in. Well, it doesn't look like I'm going to get scorpions in this mission. Another miscast. That was it. I feel like I need to get more out of this. Maybe there's a wild mage. Although wild mages, they used to have some really interesting stuff back in the beta, but now that they're pretty much boots and gloves, there isn't much that I've seen out of those. I still keep them all, but there isn't much that I've seen that really blows my skirt up on that experimental stuff. Most of it's potion based. Not a big fan of the whole potion based mechanic in any game. I'm about to bail on this. Yeah, I'm out. Increased cooldown recovery, woohoo! I mean, there are builds that I think that's pretty useful, but None that I'm necessarily interested in playing right now. There's a cast speed, but don't have anything else to benefit that. Hmm. Let's go wand. Let's just go cash. Don't really need cash, but I'm looking for a beacon so that I can unlock the beacon and see more around me. Really, I should just be running past everybody. Accomplishing the final goal. This is slave patrolling Imperial Watchers. Is it more than one this time? Let's find out. Oh, there he goes. Follow me, fellas. Ooh, that's close. One-handed sword. Oh, I haven't seen that one before. Oh, the humming bee. Elemental attacks deal 1% increased damage per 200 ward. Eh. I have seen some crazy ward builds since I decided to learn how ward works. I'm certainly not a crazy ward build, but I also, other than that last fight where I decided to take on the entire map at once, I haven't really felt all that challenged by many things other than final timeline bosses. So, Lagon still gives me a bit of a problem, but not much. Since everybody's dead, I guess I can stop and look here. Chance to chill on hit. Yeah, this is generally my life. Find an enemy that dies on chill, and I am death incarnate. Increased minion damage. I'll come back to you with an acolyte at some point. Oh, hey, unique. That's the other thing. That's one of the. If I'm gonna knock the last epoch, I'm gonna say it every different way, just to keep you all on your toes. But if I'm gonna fault last epoch for anything, it's gonna be that the uniques are kind of trash. I know that there's probably some magical combination that make these things, that make the uniques better than exalted and properly crafted gear, but right now they're not, as far as I can tell. I mostly use uniques actually early in the game when there's no real other option, and they do tend to roll a little bit higher damage, or they have a little bit higher damage than what I can craft. But once I get a character up to like level 80, like I'm approaching now, I have so many materials and so much money that my entry level characters pretty much have the best of everything throughout their entire build. They usually have all of the crafting materials they need to stay on top of everything, and they have all of the money they need to buy base gear within their level, such that it gets to a point where even the low level unique, the good low level uniques are not really all that useful. As long as you know how to build and what each, like early on, bonus damage is key, because you can't go high tier with early gear, or at least you can't craft when you're that low level, and so you go with the biggest bang for your buck, and bonus damage in the of the type that you're building your character around is what gives you early on. That and mana, so that you can continue casting. You don't have any downtimes, since they don't have the mana flasks in this game. And they don't have mana on hit, although mana on hit with a build like mine would be a bit insane. And you see this guy, he would normally have been a problem for me, but he really isn't. I can stand in his... There's two of them. I pretty much can stand with both of them. The end. Chance to ignite. Again, chance to ignite. Any of the chances for elemental debuffs, not all that helpful. I mean, I do have the debuffs built into my disintegrate, but it ticks so often that it just hits all the time. There's no point. I mean, I'll hit maximum debuffs with a very small percentage chance per tick, just because it hits so often. All right, let's blow this popsicle stand. All right, this was experience. What did I get? Increased move. Hey, look, it's minions. Yay! Lightning damage with spells. Plus one to multi-strike. That's not for me. That'd be good for... I think that would be the paladin. Probably looks cool. Man. Chance to ignite. Increase fire damage over time. This would be good if I decided to go with a build that puts all of the damage onto stacking dots. I'm not doing stacking dots right now. And Flame Reeve, I believe that is a spell sword skill. So, not for me. I do kind of wish that they would let you respec your specialization. Just because they let you... It makes it so easy for you to try different builds on a single character, but I guess... I mean, I guess I understand and I don't. I'll let it go. Anyway, I'm going to run one more. We'll run this one. See what I get, and then I'll let y'all go. I've been talking here for a while. Another one that's not going to have scorpions, probably. I don't know. I think maybe there's timelines where you get more scorpions. I haven't looked that deeply into it. So slay enemies to locate storm cage. Slay the storm cage. I do like the monster designs for this. There are some monster designs that obviously they kind of phoned it in. I'm looking at you, electrified crystals. But they do have a lot of interesting designs for enemies. These are another that are just kind of phoned in. But maybe you can't have a proper fantasy without will-o-wisps, which is essentially all that is. See, watch, they're just gonna beat on me while I sit here and figure out what this is. Nah, don't need it. I'll shatter it for the shards, but pretty much any purple that the purple is in the defensive affixes are just a big womp womp for me. Womp womp. Hey, look! Minions! Block the shit out of things. See, I don't get it. I mean, obviously, I think one of the things that makes hunting for skill or hunting for gear more difficult in this, and actually probably better in the long run, is that pretty much, other than a very few number of affixes, every single piece of gear can have all the affixes for that gear slot. A mage, especially a high ward generation mage, really doesn't need healing. By the time a mage is down to ticking off health, they're already done for. As I almost was, because I got too busy looking at something else. The other downside of running one of these disintegrate builds is pretty much nothing is for you except for very, very, very specific. You get a critical strike shrine, doesn't really do you any good. Get an attack speed shrine, doesn't do you any good. That one was what? Experience. Okay. That does me some good. And really, I should stop playing with one hand stroking my beard, because it's doing me no good, and I'm not... I need to be dropping my glyph of dominion. Okay, it's telling me the storm cage is down here. So mostly I've been really liking the last Epoch, because I really set people who know me and who've seen what I've been writing about Diablo 4. I've really soured on Diablo 4. And there's all kinds of reasons to hate Blizzard, but it wasn't until recently that the games they made were one of them. But Diablo 4 is just awful. I know people are real diehards for that, and I liked it at the beginning. I would say that probably the first couple times you play through the leveling up a character, really great, really fun. Story's great, all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to the rest of the game, and very, very questionable decisions they made, both programming and marketing and monetization. I pretty much had it with them when they came to everybody and said, yeah, we know that our inventory is too small. I mean, their inventory isn't just too small, it's too small to maintain a single character's stash. And they want you to play multiple characters. And it just makes no sense. And so they decided, hey, we decided that that you're right, that you do need more stash space, so how would you like more stash space for $100? And I'm like, I'm sorry, my middle finger's not long enough to tell you how I think about that. Anyway, so at that point when I read that, I said, no, I'm done. No more. I like watching guys like Darth Microtransactions and stuff, and I know that they still got a big following for Diablo, so they got to pay it some lip service and be nice and kind, but I don't have to be because there's only going to be a couple of you who watch this anyway. But Diablo sucks. It looks nice, and some of the skills are interesting, but no, that's not it, dog. PoE, I love PoE. I've played probably more PoE than I've played any other action RPG other than Warhammer 40k Martyr, which I'll show you maybe someday. I love that game. That game is pretty simple, but it's Warhammer 40k, so I love it. And I've played over 500 hours of that, which is a lot for me. If you go through my Steam library, I lose interest at about 150 hours, even on great games. But I put 500 hours into Inquisitor, Martyr, Warhammer 40k, and it's fun. I really like it. They didn't expand it as much as I wanted to, so I kind of hit the hit limit on what I was interested in playing. I do know they have a new character coming out. I don't know if it's released yet. That I'll try. It's kind of like it's a minion build, but it's a minion build. It's kind of like a minion build with soldiers, so that should be interesting. Anyway, but that one was pretty simple. The itemization in Martyr is pretty simple. PoE has so many different walls that you have to climb in learning it. But when you get there, it's fun. And sometimes things just work, and it takes you a while to even figure out why they work. But sometimes things look like they're going to work perfectly, and then everything's one-shotting you. So this game is it's a little more complicated than Diablo, a little more forgiving than PoE, and overall, it's just the right balance. It gives you missions. That's one thing that I like, is that you got to farm for a long time, and I've been farming for probably 20 hours for a staff replacement and a chest replacement for this guy. But it's not like you have no options, and you can always try new things. And it's not that hard to get at least minor upgrades along the way. There's what most of these games miss in the late game is there's no incremental improvement. You can play when you get up to the top level with Diablo, and you're going for perfect roll kind of stuff. You're looking at weeks, months, sometimes of gaining nothing. It's just a grind. And I don't know. I'm not cut out for that kind of grind. So if you all are, then more power to you. But when I get to that grind part, I just step aside. I go do something else. I find another game to play, or I start another character that I have been interested in trying. But so far, this one's been pretty good. I think I'm gonna have to probably run at least this and the mage. The mage is already going to be at 80 soon, but run a couple of classes to level 80, see which ones I like. I think based on if I want to have a walk in the park, I'm going to have to start an acolyte, a minion build acolyte, because I have all the gear for her once she hits 50 plus. But I really kind of want to run a paladin. But mage has been the one that I've played the most, and I just needed to play that this time through. Anyway, just kind of babbling. Wanted to show you what I've been working on. This disintegrate. It's interesting because this disintegrate, the damage per second, I'm not sure how the number is that high. It never seems to be that I'm doing as much damage as the crit people, and I guess I'm not. But my numbers are almost as high as theirs, so who knows? It's all white damage too. So, thank y'all for watching. This has already run a little longer than I had intended, but I'm glad you tuned in, and y'all have a great evening. Peace.